Welcome back to another CIS 192 module. In this module, we'll be covering monitoring and analytics. So not too many topics in this module. We'll be covering a few services, including CloudWatch, CloudTrail, and AWS Trusted Advisor. So go ahead and watch that introduction video in the slides. When you're ready to continue, you can unpause our video. All right, so AWS CloudWatch. Let's discuss what the service is. Again, make sure to watch that video. They're always using that metaphor, right, of the coffee shop. Whenever you're ready, you can hit continue on our video. All right, so what is CloudWatch? It's essentially a monitoring service that provides insights into AWS resource applications and services in real time by analyzing something called metrics. Metrics can be anything. It's a measure of different data points that'll capture how your service is doing. Say it's an EC2 instance, right? It could be how much CPU is your EC2 instance using. Say it's a storage bucket. It could be how much capacity, how much bytes of data, right, are in that bucket. For a network, right, it could be how much packets are coming into the network. It's all based on the specific service, and it's all based on things that you want to watch out for. So CloudWatch uses metrics to represent the data points for your resources. And then AWS services send metrics to CloudWatch, so that it'll collect it directly from your services. CloudWatch can use those metrics to create graphs that automatically show how performance has changed over time. So on EC2 instance, for example, if you enable those detailed metrics, you can see how much CPU it uses in the last hour, last 3 hours, last 12 days, last month, etc. You can see how your services have been performing. CloudWatch alarms are a feature of CloudWatch. So they help you monitor CloudWatch metrics and trigger automated actions based on specific thresholds. So if you want to, for example, you want to stop an instance if it's doing too much work, if there's too much CPU utilization, you can do that via CloudWatch alarms. So it can help in proactive incident management. So if you want to avoid downtime for users, crashes in your instances, too much traffic, right? We talked about DDoS and how those attacks are all about overwhelming your compute resources with traffic. That's all things that you can manage directly through CloudWatch alarms, right? Based on how much of any metric, based on like what you're looking for, based on the service you're using, you can, for example, stop the instance if it's working too hard. Or you can just have it notify, right, the correct person on your team and say, hey, our CPU instance over here, our EC2 instance is using too much CPU. Can you go and check it out and maybe ask why or who's using that instance, or what's the cause, right, of the change in activity. So yeah, it helps organizations ensure system reliability because it's going to proactively detect and respond to those critical performance issues. So an example could be your company's developers are using Amazon EC2 to create a new app, right? Or they're testing their new app. Maybe those developers forget to stop the instances. I can tell you that happened all the time on our team. We had an instance where we're running a cluster of services, and if you start it up, the idea is you would start it, you would shut it down once you were finished. Of course, people would forget, right? So they set up an alarm to make sure that it would turn off on its own. Well, in this scenario, you could create an alarm that automatically stops the EC2 instance when the CPU usage has remained below a certain threshold for a specified period. So yeah, if nobody's been using the EC2 instance for a few hours, it's probably safe to say, hey, nobody's on it right now. We can shut it down and save some money. So in this case, right, it's just going to help the organization save resources and, of course, save money. You can even, like I said, you can set up notifications. So maybe instead of actually stopping the instance, it'll notify an operator and say, hey, can you go check it out? Maybe ask around before you shut it down. So the CloudWatch dashboard enables you to access all the metrics for all of your resources from one location. So all your different services that are supplying metrics to CloudWatch, you can keep an eye on them centrally through the CloudWatch dashboard. So you can monitor, again, CPU utilization for an EC2 instance. You can also check total number of requests for an Amazon S3 bucket. Depending on the service, right, it'll depend on the metrics that'll be available to you. You can customize even separate dashboards for different business purposes, applications, or resources. Here's an example of what that dashboard might look like. So for example, for EC2, right, we can see network activity, the packets in and packets out. So that's data coming in and out. And then we can also see CPU utilization in the green, which makes sense, right? As data is decreasing, well, then the application is doing less work. So yeah, very, very useful for keeping an eye on the health of your services. So next up is going to be AWS Cloud Trail.